Da 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 da. I'm back just in time for the Mistopher Christopher show. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here for the Mistopher Christopher show because I'm your friend, Mistopher Christopher. This is the show where we talk about whatever I feel like that day. And today, we've got a few different activities. We've got a few different things to do. We're looking at, right now, stories. And stories, to me, are incredibly powerful and transformative. And a lot of people agree at the moment. I even read an article yesterday in the Harvard Business Review about the brands that are succeeding because of their capacity to tell stories. And be that what it may, I think stories have a capacity to invite people to a different possibility in a whole other way. So I just arrived home. I was at the art gallery here in Brisbane seeing some incredible pictures, which also told a story, and they gave me some incredible inspiration for this story class that I've got coming out. And I wanted to sit down with you today and read a couple stories, but before that, we have to make some story snacks. So I'm here in the kitchen, just arrived home from the gallery, and we're gonna make the American campfire classic, s'mores. Now, s'mores are, I'm assuming they're American, but maybe you have them in your country as well. I'm pretty sure they're not Australian because I'm here in Australia. Oh, do you know what? My friend Paula Peralta tells me I have to look in the camera and not at my picture. So here I'm looking in the camera. Let's have meaningful eye contact for a moment, you and I. Hi. So, s'mores. The reason why I don't think these are very Australian, because when I went to the shops to buy the ingredients, not so easy. So s'mores are only 3 ingredients, right? They're marshmallows, chocolate, easy. Chocolate's the easiest part. Marshmallows, you'd be surprised. You know, when you grew up in a country and your idea of things like peanut butter or marshmallows or something, you have like, this is the way it is because that's what you grew up with. And then you go to another country and they interpret it totally differently. And then the last ingredient that holds it all together, the graham crackers. Well, graham crackers apparently are a very North American thing. You don't really get them outside. Graham crackers are like a wheat meal biscuit. And by biscuit, I kind of mean cookie because they're like usually sweet and maybe sometimes even have a bit of a cinnamon flavor. Oh, see, but look, love the eye contact. I'll give it to you again. You know, when you're working with a camera, but you have the screen of yourself, you often just look at yourself, but people like it apparently when you look at the camera. So, hey guys, hey everybody, hi. We're making graham cracker things today without graham crackers. Who knew? S'mores. So I found something, I did a little research online, and what they say is a good alternative in countries like Australia that don't have graham crackers is a digestive biscuit that is a little wheatier. So these are like crispy malt digestive biscuits. They're round, which is a little unconventional when we're talking about graham crackers. I've got some milk chocolate. I know everyone has a point of view about whether they like dark chocolate or they like milk chocolate. I like milk chocolate myself. And then marshmallows. And Australian marshmallows, again, they're weird. Like, I grew up in a country where you'd get the great big ones designed for poking in a fire and sitting around a fire camping and roasting them. But these are like, they're like little baby ones. And then they have pink ones. And usually they're like covered in powdered sugar. Unusual, unorthodox, but we'll give it a whirl. And then because graham crackers are square and I couldn't get those, I also got these biscuits, which are kind of the right shape, but they're different. These are called Nice, which again, if you're from Australia, Australia is, when you ask an Australian whether they enjoyed their dinner or they had a good lunch or what they thought of the food they've eaten, they always say, that was nice. They never say it was great. They never say it was good. They just say it was nice. It was very nice. I always found that a little odd and unusual when I arrived here in Australia. As a Canadian, we wouldn't necessarily do that. But all you're doing to make a s'more, I've got my oven preheated, and I've got my pan here with baking paper, and we're just gonna make little sandwiches. And I'm making this snack because after we make the s'mores, we're gonna go and I'm gonna read to you some fun little stories and things that I've prepared and have our snacks. So we'll make one or two in each style because I have a feeling my hubby will be home soon and he'll be like, I want one. So we'll make him one too. Now, because these marshmallows are a little wide, but kind of a strange shape, I'm just gonna use scissors and cut them in half. Pretty easy. So for all of you out there listening, if you have any questions, anything you want to know about, please sing out in the comment section. I have this, see, the reason why we're looking at stories so much at the moment is starting tomorrow, I've got this class starting called How to Tell a Story. And it's a little bit controversial. It's a little bit different. I'll tell you what inspired it. We were doing an Access Consciousness, Right Voice for You 3-day class. And in that class, we look at all the different ways that you engage with the world and you create, or you think you have no ability and capacity, like writing, speaking, singing. And these are all places where you get to engage with the world and share a part of you. But it's sort of like when you go into a karaoke room and someone passes you the microphone, a lot of people tend to freak out and freeze up. So in doing this class, we get people to step outside of their comfort zone and do some of the things that they have that reaction to. And storytelling is one of them. I love to get people to look at how they write and their capacity to write. And I had the most fabulous conversation about this with the founder of Access Consciousness, Gary Douglas. And if you're interested in hearing that conversation, I recorded it for people to share. So if you contact me, I'm happy to give you the recording of that conversation because it was phenomenal. Now, I'm just about done building my little sandwiches here. As you can see, it's not very complicated. I've got little sandwiches. Hopefully they melt down nicely so that they kind of squish. Now, there we go. 2 in each style. 1 for me and 1 for you. Short stubble. Yeah, you know, trying something different, Celine. Something different is always fun. Now, I'm popping these in the oven. And we're just gonna have to keep an eye on those because they're not cooking. We just want the chocolate and the marshmallow to kind of melt a little bit so that we can press them together. But as I say, and I've prepared my favorite cake plate for afterwards. It's got a little green dragon on it. And it is made by the Meissen Porcelain Factory in Germany. And Meissen was one of, if not the first, European porcelain factory who was able to create porcelain the way the Chinese had produced for years. Europeans hadn't figured it out. And all of the porcelain that they used in Europe had been imported from China. That's why we call it China. But this is not that old. This is Meissen, and this is their pattern called Ming Dragon, and I just love it. So I wanted to use it. So I thought I'd just show you because it's beautiful. And do you want to know the word for cake plate in German? Kuchenteller. Sounds more fun than plate. Kuchenteller. So I've got my Kuchenteller ready. Again, keeping an eye here. So stories. Now, in Access Consciousness, we have this class called The Foundation. And in The Foundation, Gary Douglas has outlined like 10 different things that you can choose to have a greater life. And he calls them the 10 Commandments to be funny. Some people get upset and offended by that, but he's being funny. And one of the things he says is don't listen to, buy, or tell the story. Now, what he's actually saying there is so many people use their story, their history, what they've experienced, even sometimes, unfortunately, the abuse that has occurred in life, as an excuse for what you cannot choose. You know, it's like when someone says, oh, well, I would love to get on and start enjoying my life and have more going on for me, but you don't understand. I've lost a child, or something like that. Or you don't understand what it's like for me because I'm a woman. You know, we have these stories that we tell ourselves of why we're capable of what we're choosing or not choosing. But there's something else possible with stories that I would like to share with you guys. Like, we encounter stories every day in different ways, whether it's a movie or television program or in a painting or even on social media through a meme or in a graphic. People have arranged images to show us something and tell us something, convey something that has occurred or a possibility that could be real. And that's the part that I find quite inspiring. Today, even in preparation for this class tomorrow, as I say, I went to the Brisbane Museum of Art, and there is an exhibition there. I think I told you guys about it. Phenomenal if you're around. And it is a group of European masterpieces starting from the medieval period all the way up to the 20th century by the greatest European artists, Renoir, Rembrandt, Rubens, Titian, you name it. Like, such an incredible thing. But what amazed me today was seeing these paintings and noticing details in them and the message or the point of view or the story that the painters and artists were trying to convey through these pictures. Amazing experience. And it made me so inspired for this class tomorrow, where we talk about stories. So I'm just gonna check on my s'mores. I know you're all anxiously waiting. Oh, I see the chocolate is very melty, but the mushrooms, there's no mushrooms. The marshmallows still need a little time. I'm just gonna have a sip of coffee. And then, once these are done, we're gonna put them on our Kuchenteller, and we're gonna go over, rest in a comfy chair with our snacks and a book, and I'm gonna read you guys some really cute, funny stories that I found by my favorite author, Oscar Wilde. Oscar Wilde was an Irish author in the late part of the 19th century, and he changed the world with what he wrote. And he was critical of society, but not in a mean, preachy, angry way. He had funny things to say, and he was known for being incredibly sharp and witty and clever. And I have a book of his quotes and some of the things that he said because they are funny. So one more time, let's just have a look. I think these are probably done. Oh yes, oh yes. Starting to slide around. So now I'm just squishing them down. Okay. They don't look very good, but remember, this is food for camping. It's just like a biscuit with chocolate and marshmallows squished in between. Now, we've got those ready. Yum, yum, yum. Now, what we're gonna do, boys and girls, I'm gonna take you with me And we're going to wander over and settle in to a comfy chair. And we're going to read some stories. Well, I've got a couple different things to read to you today. So these are probably a little hot. If you didn't get to see them, there they are. See, they're just like chocolatey, marshmallowy sandwiches. Mm-mm. So Nydia Garcia is saying, que rico, quiero, yeah. I don't really know what that means, but it feels good when you say it. Again, meaningful eye contact. So here we have The Wicked Wit of Oscar Wilde. This was in my Christmas stocking, and I love Oscar Wilde. So I'm going to ask you guys, he's got different quotes here on different topics. We could have age before beauty, romance, civilized society, country life. What do you want to hear quotes on? Anybody? Maybe we should start with age before beauty before anyone has a chance to type anything in. What does he say here? Here's a quote where he says, oh, Celine wants romance. We'll get to romance next, but here he's talking about age before beauty, and he says, I delight in men over 70. They always offer one the devotion of a lifetime. Get it? It's funny because they don't have that much longer to live. This one says, in America, the young are always ready to give to those who are older than themselves the full benefits of their inexperience. Then this quote's from The Picture of Dorian Gray. Hello from Brazil, Priscilla Amherst. Now, the one thing I will say is, some of you are tuning in from like different pages, and I only see comments from one of the pages. So if some of you are asking and I'm not responding, it's because I don't get to see your comments. From The Picture of Dorian Gray, one of his famous novels, he says, the only people to whose opinions I listen now with any respect are people much younger than myself. There we go. Okay, here we have romance. This one says, there's nothing in the world like the devotion of a married woman. It's a thing no married man knows anything about. Men always want to be a woman's first love. That is their clumsy vanity. We women have a more subtle instinct about things. What we like is to be a man's last romance. The worst of having a romance of any kind is that it leaves one so unromantic. This is from my favorite of his plays, The Importance of Being Earnest. And he says, the amount of women in London who flirt with their own husbands is perfectly scandalous. It looks so bad. It is simply washing one's clean linen in public. So funny. Men marry because they're tired. Women because they're curious. Both end up disappointed. I think this is terribly funny. I love Oscar Wilde. When I was looking for a husband, I found one. I said to the universe, I said, okay, find me the Oscar Wilde of my generation. And he turned up. That was that. That's what I asked for. I was looking for someone intelligent and creative and articulate in that way. And that's what showed up. Ta-da! It's as easy as that. Now, another thing about stories that I want to mention to you guys while we're on the topic is, I want you to look at what your story is. What are the experiences that you've had in life? What have you seen, or what do you know about based on your life that no one else probably does? Like, I've noticed that some people, when we start looking at stories and their life and what they've seen and experienced, they think they've got nothing to offer, or they think their life's not that interesting. It's probably why some of them are so boring to listen to, because that's their judgment, that they're boring. So that's what they project to you. But I'd like to challenge you on that. What story do you have to tell that, if you would tell it, would actually give people more choice, more possibility, and more question in their world? What if your story and your experiences, your awareness, the point of view that you look at the world from, was actually a gift that invited people to something else rather than a hindrance or boring? Just a thought, just something to think about and look at. Now, on my Facebook page, which is where I guess you're all tuning in now, I've done some, I've gotten you guys to like contribute and put together stories by everyone contributing a sentence or a few words. And I want to read it. Let's see, where did I put it? I'm finding it so that I can read it to you. I think it'll be fun. So I said, let's write a story together. I'll put the first line in the comments and the story begins. Continue the story by adding to the comment directly above yours. So I started us off and I said, I wasn't sure I should, but I just chose to do it. And so I did. And I have a feeling that it's going to be an adventure. It had been calling me for a while. Gentle whispering, intoxicating sounds. Sounds that kept increasing in volume to a point where I couldn't ignore them anymore. I sat still and listened. Sorry, none of that made sense. Let's start again. And so it begins again, but this time I heard the sounds loud and clear and couldn't stop laughing. Those laughter announced to me my totality. I did, and damn, I look good doing it too. Neat or on the rocks? So I answered, and then the big boss arrived with his entourage, all looking absolutely drop-dead gorgeous in their birthday suits and patent red leather boots. Everyone cheered loudly. When the cheering subsided, the boss began speaking, sipping champagne from the finest. And I asked myself, am I really interested in all of that? And I turned 180 degrees. And then I was face to face with him, the man with the smoldering brown eyes that seemed to dig into my very soul. Crystal glasses while dancing to the soft tunes of Pink Floyd and children's laughter. It felt like time stood still as our eyes met in a parallel reality. We were gazing at each other while body vibration of giggling in every cell, every cytoplasma, every atom. We just did it. Then and there. What else is possible? How does it get any better than this? My secret that I've held close to my chest for as long as I've known you is, this is hopeless. I have no idea what's going on. Though why the hell shouldn't I? Never drank champagne off a body before. I allowed the moments to flow, the soft, crisp breeze over my bare shoulders, the soft hand in my hand, the sun-kissed look over the trees, and an invitation to run and play peekaboo in the wilderness with my little son. Ride a bike and watch the clouds. Am I going crazy? In spite of that, I jumped, and it was the most glorious jump. Instead of falling down, I actually flew so high, far and away, knowing that anything is possible. Knowing that anything is possible, I stepped out into the unknown, boldly daring to go where no one else had ever been. I said, let's do it again. What the hell? What else is possible? I thought to myself, boy, is my ADDH, is it at it again? But then I thought, no way. I'm just an X-Men with spherical awareness. What's that over there? It's another possibility, just waiting for me to say yes. And so I did. What unfolded was the most intense lightness I'd experienced yet. I broke into song while pouring my third old-fashioned. I found this rare bourbon from a guy who infused this lightness in everything he touched, not just his carefully and joyfully stilled spirits. He and I, well, we simply stayed curious enough to wonder if I could sleep with another handsome man in the same day. Was I a slut? I put my hand to my forehead, dizzy with drink, and the way his eyes danced as he gave me another kiss in the neck, delirious in his ecstasy of pleasure. I just didn't know what to do. My whole body was melting in orgasm when suddenly we both knew something different was available. And it was in this knowing that we chose to dance wildly, feeling the expanse of an energy so profound, we knew we were connected to everything. And then, as long as I keep choosing what is fun for me, and my body too, we knew there are just infinite possibilities available for us to choose. Question is, what will we choose next? I did it anyway. That is our collaborative story that we wrote on Facebook together. And I actually think, strung together, you get these pictures coming through of what's going on for this person. And it seems like an awful lot of fun. Almost as much fun as this melty, chocolatey, biscuity mess. Now, we have to taste test. First, we're going to taste the nice one. These are nice biscuits. Wow. Messy. Chocolatey. Sticky. Not very conventional flavor. The slightly strawberry flavored marshmallows are weird. The Nice biscuit, the sugary cookie rather than the graham wafer, is a bit different. But let's see. Let's try the next one. That's more like it. There you are. A sweet treat for story time. So, ladies and gents, got chocolate all in my mouth. Thank you so much for joining me today for the Mistopher Christopher show. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. If you're interested in finding out about this class that we have starting tomorrow, there is the address down there at the bottom of the screen. MrChristopherHughes.com is my website. If you go to /stories or go to events, you can find out more about this class. It's a right voice class, highly interactive. You will be telling stories, writing stories, looking at a group of different pictures and finding stories, and writing based on that. We're going to do a lot of different interactive exercises to get you over your point of view that A, you can't write, that stories are wrong, and moreover, that you're boring and have nothing to say or offer. So thank you all, everybody, for listening. Hopefully we'll see you sometime again in the future. Bye.